Scumbags, welcome back. We finally got the season recap episode underway. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time since we recorded one of these. I mean, I think the last time we did one was, I don't know, early December after the bowl game was announced when Malik transferred. We got Darian Mensah, Grayson transferred, and we got the bowl game announcement all in the span of 72 hours. Quite the busy week at the time. It's been a while since then, so it's only right if we get into, season recap episode. Just give our thoughts. We look back over the season, a memorable season for sure. And then we're going to look back at who we thought were going to be the team leaders in individual categories and then who ended up being the leaders. Some of them, our predictions were so laughable that,
Yeah,
I mean, boy, were we wrong.
there's a lot of really really laughable freezing cold takes coming up in today's pod. That's what we're gonna wear it. Wear it on our sleeves today.
We're going
So
to own up to it.
enjoy all the bad.
I guess real quick, also, I'm trying out a new webcam that my girlfriend got me for Christmas. It's good quality, but kind of makes me look like I'm in a sewer, so we'll have to work on that. Um,
I'm also recording off an iPad tonight because my laptop is screwed right now. So
we're unconventional over here.
as always, it don't matter how many episodes we're in. It's always going to be the same old stuff.
Speaking of same old stuff, Tyler will not be able to make it with us tonight. He is with his schedule with work. It's just impossible to find a time we're all available. We get about one 30-minute window a week where we could all be together, and it typically doesn't work out. So anyway,
That's
Tyler's still here.
the end. That's about the end.
It's about to end.
He's got
Um,
2 more weeks of hoops, and then by the time we start rolling conference episodes out and all that this spring, it'll be wide open again.
that's right. Well, I guess before we get into, recapping the season and looking back at what I consider to be a very memorable Duke football season, um, I think we're not going to get too far into it, but we'll just talk about the bowl game. Uh, can't really say I'm surprised with the outcome of the Gator Bowl. I mean, Ole Miss is Ole Miss, and Duke was honestly exposed. I think that our defense did what they could to keep up with Ole Miss, but I think we were underprepared schematically. I think we were obviously undersized. The speed wasn't quite what Ole Miss has, obviously. But also the biggest glaring issue, and it just kind of reaffirms some worries that we had all seasons that Jonathan Brewer might be a fraud. Because all season long, it was, oh, Jonathan Brewer's bad, but Malik is a real problem. Get rid of Malik. We get a mobile quarterback. I didn't expect Henry to have like a generational game by any means. But I thought that he could hopefully at least cover for some of Brewer's shortcomings. What are your thoughts, Noah? What do you think about the game, real quick?
I've got a lot to say about Jonathan Brewer, and I'm just going to chalk the Gator Bowl up to we just were not a great football team at the Gator Bowl, and Ole Miss came very prepared. Nobody opted out, and they wanted to win it. It was still important to Ole Miss. We really didn't act like it was all that important to us, so I'm gonna chalk that up to what it is. Jonathan Brewer. Anybody that's got a problem with Malik Murphy, whatever next year when he throws for 3,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 8 picks in Oregon State's air raid offense, you can come circle back to me. You can come out to the bars in Charlotte. You can come up to me at Wallace Wade or at a tailgate, and I'll tell you straight to your face, I told you so, because it's a Jonathan Brewer problem. And I mean, we're putting a band-aid on a bullet hole by just getting rid of Malik Murphy, getting Darian Mensah, and then leaving Jonathan Brewer. So he gets 2 years because that's how it works in football and OCs and things like that. And not many of them get canned after a year. But if you think something's going to change this year, you're wrong. Darian Mensah is not a running back, quarterback that you guys so loved and wanted to see like they had in the national championship this year. Shout out Ohio State. We appreciate you. We'll get to that later. But Brewer, I don't think anything's going to change. I've said it all off season. We're putting band-aids on bullet holes or trying to wipe our ass, with a dirty, toilet paper type deal. It's not going to change anything. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. And that's one thing I'm going to say all throughout the spring and every season prediction we make is like I don't think the offense is going to change at all. I think it's going to be the same ceiling and the same floor until change is made there. So, that's my soapbox about that loser.
I agree with Noah too. I mean, for the most part, yeah. I mean, again, nobody expected Henry Beelan to come in and have a legacy game. And I put, honestly, dude, I put zero blame for the Gator Bowl on Henry Beelan's shoulders.
Yeah, no,
I,
no.
I didn't expect him to come in and ball out, but I did think in the back of my mind a little bit, okay, we're going to get to see a sneak peek of what a mobile quarterback that we so desperately need will look like in Brewer's system. Maybe we'll find another level. Maybe even if we don't win, we'll see flashes of hope. There was none. I mean, Henry did what he could do to kind of cover up for the shortcomings in the scheme. I mean, he extended plays in ways that Murphy either couldn't or didn't with his legs. I think he made some beautiful passes. His decision making was pretty good, solid, but yeah, I mean, you can only do so much to hide just awful schemes. I mean, just small things like running the ball or throwing the ball on 3rd and 1, just shit that we've seen all season long from Jonathan Brewer that none of us are very happy about. So I definitely think that going into next season, all eyes are going to be and should be on Jonathan Brewer and the way he runs the offense. I had some hope before the Gator Bowl when we got Mensa that, hey, maybe we've got a guy who's slightly more mobile, maybe a little bit more effective in the short game. Uh, we should set the league ablaze next season. I that hope is kind of out the window now after watching the Gator Bowl and how he prepared, and not just Jonathan Brewer. I think the plan for the Gator Bowl was bad all around. I don't think the schemes were good. There was no execution. Manny looked like he didn't want to be there. The players didn't really look like they wanted to be there. Um, I mean, yeah,
It seemed like they had a more want to win the Birmingham Bowl. Sadly, that's
yeah,
the team on the field and the product that was displayed was a more want to attitude. And it's not saying it was, but it's just saying from a vibes perspective. I mean, you could see things like that, and that was. They were just kind of dead in the water out there. And it is what it is. We're not going to harp on it too much. I ain't going to beat and bang about us losing to Ole Miss by a million, but would have been nice to lose by 17, or 14. Respectable losses are good, but getting blown out, regardless who it is, sucks.
yeah. And I don't think, and again, like I started getting a little bit too optimistic heading into that game. Like, hey, what if we catch Ole Miss asleep at the wheel and they come unprepared and Duke puts everything they have into this and we squeak out a win by 14? What if?
Ole Miss
Hell,
came to
free.
play like Duke needed to come to play.
Yes. It was like the
Ole Miss,
roles were reversed.
Ole Miss could have showed up with no prep, and probably could have shit their way around and won the game. But they came almost over prep. They were just fucking ready.
Yeah, it was pretty gross. I mean, the trip was fun. The tailgate was fun. I mean, the tailgate is about the last thing I remember from that game because I was gone when the game started. And I don't remember much until the second half when it was already long over. But anyhow, that's out of the way. Looking at the season as a whole, I mean, wow, the bowl game was a huge disappointment. I mean, the season itself
Good times.
far better than we could have expected. All the experts in Vegas and everything were putting Duke at 4.5 or 5.5 wins, give or take. Some people even said 3 wins. I know in the back of my mind, I could have very realistically saw Duke going 3-9, and I'm sure it's the same for all of us. But 9-3, I mean,
Second
that's
season in our lifetime. I
yeah,
mean,
second time in our lifetime, probably the third or fourth time max in Duke history.
yep.
Um, yeah, I mean, it was what more could you ask for? I mean, looking back, yes, the defense did carry the offense all season, but I mean there were still some bright spots on the offensive side of the ball.
Game-winning overtime offensive plays against Northwestern. We scored a boatload of points again. Games against Virginia Tech and NC State. Second half against Carolina, ripping 22 points. There's still a lot of in Wake Forest, a walk-off touchdown. There's still a lot of instances this past season where even as bad as that offense was, man, they like just the talent showed up in the moments where it was kind of just like fuck what the coach is calling. Like we're just going to win the football game. I mean, like Jordan Moore literally said in his post game interview, he was running a 5 yard out route and was just like, "No, I'm gonna go to the end zone." And like Malik Murphy was just that kind of dog that could go dart one up to him, and that's gonna be missed. It was fun. It was a good time. Worst part of the season, SMU. I will, that there's nothing worse than that. But there was a lot of good this year. Virginia Tech was real fun. Carolina game was great. State game was great. Just some bangers in conference play.
Agreed.
Barely squeaking by UConn wasn't very fun. A Friday night thunderstorm, piss poor rain game against Elon wasn't all that great, but we had some good vibes.
We definitely did. And looking back at the season again, if we go through game by game, I mean, Elon won that game. Should have won by more in a more dominating fashion, but I'll take a win. Northwestern, we thought we were cooked. I mean, that Northwestern game was gross, just gross.
People were calling 1-10 in the group chat. We're like, we're going 1-11, just absolute smoke.
Yeah. Pulled that one out. Middle Tennessee, no, UConn had to play from behind in the fourth quarter. That was gross, but I do find solace in the fact that UConn wasn't the UConn of old, that they were actually decent this year.
Yeah,
So
good football team.
it's not like having to play from behind against UConn like in 2023.
Yeah, like,
Um,
and we play UConn on the road next year, and like that's like a big if game for me. Like
that might be
that's
a key
one,
game. Yeah.
dude. That's one like Duke might be fighting for bowl eligibility week 11, and that's like we did one of those SEC things where we're playing a non-conference game at the end of the year, and like we might have to win against UConn. Like it might be a must-win situation.
Yeah. Worst
Them
case
boys play
scenario.
some ball. Old Jim Nora, get old Stores, Connecticut, getting them rolling.
Then after UConn, Middle Tennessee State, I mean,
The Chandler game,
the
the
Chandler
viral.
game. Oh man, in case you guys missed it, our buddy Chandler had a clip go viral that he took of the coaches having the players stay loose and warm during the lightning delays. So it's
Yeah,
become kind of a running joke with us. Middle Tennessee State dominated there. Nicky Dalmall legacy game. Pretty much the only thing he did all season.
that's when I knew Trump was going to win the election. Was when Nicky Dalmau had 2 touchdowns and 100. That's in the script.
Yeah, you see Nicky Dalmall get that wide open. You know it's a red wave that season.
Yeah,
Uh,
Charlie Kirk just got some new NIL money for sure.
Next game, Carolina started out dog shit. Elite comeback for the ages. I mean, really just storybook stuff. I mean, finally you get to retire Mac Brown, who historically owned Duke. I
I
mean,
think
I think all time Mac Brown was like 15-3 against Duke.
yeah,
Something absurd like that.
I think those two losses, like I mean, those were like came back in like the '90s, like when Duke was still like pretty good, you
Yeah,
know.
like a 94 and then like 89 if he was there at the time. Um, Next game, Georgia Tech. Ugh.
That
First
was
loss of the
left
season.
out left that out there on the table, man. 24-14.
Just your
Gross.
classic Jonathan Brewer disaster class. I was down there for that one. Really enjoyed my time in Atlanta. Georgia Tech is a gorgeous campus, great stadium, great fans. They were all pleasant to me. I had no qualms with the Georgia Tech fans.
One of the best places to go in the ACC for any sport, baseball, basketball, football. Those are good fans, and it's a great town.
100%. What came next was they had a bye week after that week, and then they played FSU, right?
Yeah, FSU at home beat
F
FSU for the first time in program history. We're not going to talk about how FSU known powerhouse. Duke beat them this year. We're not going to talk about their record or anything, but known powerhouse FSU.
Yeah, that
Little old Duke beat the powerhouse.
the way I see it is if FSU is allowed to count wins against Duke in the early 2000s when we were winless multiple times, then this counts.
This counts
Um,
twice for us.
yeah, that Chandler Rivers pick six in the first half was insane, just electric. And then followed up by the SMU game. I mean, just we were right there. It was the same thing as a Notre Dame game last year. Like
Everything was perfect till it wasn't at the SMU game,
I
man.
mean, Cutcliffe came back,
The
Goldsmith came
tailgate,
back,
the fucking tailgate was immaculate.
elite tailgate vibes, beautiful fall day. I mean, I got to meet Cutcliffe and Goldsmith and Carl Franks. That was elite. Uh, but yeah, I mean, just piss poor special teams performance, piss poor offensive performance, which is weird because some of our losses you could probably attribute to Malik, but that's one loss where like that
He
was
just
like statistically his best game as a Blue Devil. So,
Jonathan Brewer is such a fucking sellout, man.
I mean, the defense forces 6 turnovers and SMU trying to hand us the game and we still lose. Uh, Now, I'm not going to say Todd Plano lost us the game because, again, just his poor offensive game plan, just execution. But when it comes down to it, he had the chance to win the game for us twice. The missed extra point could have won it. The missed field goal could have won it. I'm not going to blame the blocked field goal on him because that wasn't his fault. But it was still just a greater problem of special teams being dog ass. What came next? Miami? Yeah, the Miami game was next.
Yeah, that was the back to back, and we started thinking like, oh, here comes the
Here,
Duke
here comes the
slide.
skid. Yeah,
Duke slide got the
start
ball
out
out.
6-1 and finish 7-5.
Yep.
Um, I mean, Miami game was fun. I was down there for that. Their fans suck. They're the worst. Um, I'll never forget when Duke went up like 11 points around halftime, and we were like, "What the fuck?" Like, there's no way they pulled this out, right? Like, there's no way. Like, I remember I had a smile on my face, but I wasn't smiling too hard because I was like, I've seen this before. I know how this goes. And then Miami just went Miami, and our defense couldn't stay off the field. So, what came after Miami? Was that State?
Yeah, we boat raced State in their house.
No. Was it State? Because Miami, it was. It was.
Yeah, that was our get right back on track game.
Yeah, State was like a must-win game to stay in the plus column because I believe Duke was like 5-3 after the Miami game.
Yep, needed to start putting some wins together there.
Yeah, going to Raleigh, win that game to become bowl eligible. I mean, it was sweet. I mean, that was probably we were talking a few nights ago on a Twitter space about like what we thought was the most complete game of the season, and I think we all agreed that it was State. Just offense was locked in, defense was locked in, some good special teams plays. I mean, Malik was looking solid. He had like a 70% completion rating that game, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it was darting them boys up.
I mean, that one clip to like the corner, like the front corner of the end zone to Jordan Moore, just the ball placement on that was just insane. Beautiful
Unreal.
ball placement. Plus, I mean, let's not forget that weird play where they threw it to Eli Pankel and he had it. The ball gets stripped from his hands. Defender's running it back. The only person, I mean, Jake Taylor, just the motor does not stop. Jake Taylor,
God,
the
long
pride,
live.
the pride of Apex, North Carolina, Cardinal Gibbons' finest, Jake Taylor, chases him down the field and like prevents a would-be touchdown. That
Jake
was a
Taylor.
huge play.
If Jake Taylor has no fans, we're dead. Like
Hmm.
you guys have to know that. If he has a million fans, we were the first.
Yes,
There's no group of people that talk about Jake Taylor in group chats and online more than our accounts.
none.
Just
I mean,
he
he's the
he
guy.
he is our sunshine and our news, and we love Jake Taylor in Apex, North Carolina.
Yeah,
And
this is a Jake Taylor fan pod for sure.
Jake Taylor and Jeremiah Hasley, both big fan, like both pod guys. You know what I mean? Both scum. Shout out Daryl Has,
Hmm.
absolute goat and scumbag. When he hears this, we appreciate you, Daryl. Our time
Yes.
is loaded next year. Daryl Hasley and Jake Taylor, baby. Let's ride. Best
Yeah.
tight end room since Devo and Snyder back in the day.
Man, yeah, a couple of dogs right there. But yeah, I mean, it was nothing meant more to us than winning in Raleigh. I mean, I know I went on Instagram afterwards and I posted the score and I said hashtag paint it blue. No, light it blue for the bell tower on Hillsborough Street. That one meant something to us, especially with all the shit that we talked in the off season. Like that
Hey,
that one meant something to
it.
us.
It was worth it. So worth it. Typical
Uh,
tough man. Get fucked.
they're getting ratioed after the game by the Duke football account. I mean, just poetry. That was beautiful.
Absolute banger from Zach Smith and the boys.
And then I believe after State was a Virginia Tech game. Another game where just the vibes were just all time high. The tailgate.
You
It,
know where to find me.
8 o'clock kick. We were out there at 11 a.m. I mean, just
Fucking
slamming.
hammered.
Yeah, slamming Michelob Ultras. I couldn't stay away from the little Debbie's on the snack table.
Dude, greatest thing. Me and Cindy talked about this like 2 nights ago randomly. We were just talking about the tailgates, and she goes, like the funniest thing that happened all year was watching Eli eat 300 packs of Hostess donuts. I was like, that shit was legendary.
Ah, what a night. Blue Devil Walk was all time high. My girlfriend was like coming to the game late and called me and she was like where am I like where are you? Like where am I supposed to meet you? And I was gone by this point. I just kept saying, you know where to find me. You know where to find me. She's like, what are you talking about? You know where to find me.
You know where I'm at. I'm at the fucking Blue Devil Walk.
Game was great. We got into it with a few Virginia Tech fans that were sitting in front of us. I mean, I think we're the first Duke football fans to ever make Wallace Wade a hostile environment for
Oh,
opposing
people hate
fans.
sitting with us.
It's awesome. It was great.
It's so great. There's always so much leg room.
That's true. Now, I think the biggest part of that game, the biggest story of that game was easily, I mean, Eli Pinnacle legacy game. What more can you say?
Fucking like Randy Moss numbers on Thanksgiving, dude. Like the 3 catches for 184 and 3 touchdowns. Just unreal type shit, you know? I
Yeah,
mean,
it was
it's
fantastic. And I mean, that game was big. Obviously, Eli had a big game, and we love to see that. I mean, he's Duke to the core. I mean, he's been with the, I mean,
he was
shit. This
catching
dude is,
touchdown Quentin Harris.
yeah, this dude was catching passes from Quentin Harris and like Gunnar Holmberg and Chase Bryce.
It's
So it was good to see him, cap off a comeback season, his senior season with us with a bang. I mean, and not only that, but that's also the game when Malik Murphy broke the single season passing touchdown record at Duke football.
he sucks though.
Yeah, he's the worst. Yeah. That was great to see. That was great. We were all super happy about that. Uh Almost lost that game in true Duke fashion. Almost pissed the bed on a primetime game against a conference opponent.
Oh man, that one was so Duke because we like jumped out to that like 21-3 lead, and then it was 21-10, then it was 21-17, and it was like, oh fuck, here we go.
Here we
And it was
go.
like, oh, it's about to go downhill fast. But luckily, we pulled that one out.
Yeah, once Star Thomas had that fumble on the drive that would have sealed the game late, we were like, fuck.
I was gonna puke, dude. If that family and that stupid chick got the validation of seeing us sad, I would have ended it all.
Yeah. I mean, that game and the state game were two games that we needed just for social reasons. And man, I'm just so glad we got them. And then the Wake Forest game to cap the regular season. I mean, ugh, I was there for that one. First half of the game, I mean, it just looked like Duke didn't want to be there. Just awful play calling, awful execution, just terrible. Then I think they really turned it on in the second half. I remember seeing the group chat. Somebody said that on TV. They noticed that heading off the bench onto the field to start the drive, at one point Malik like had his jacket on and then just like chucked it to the side, like he was ready to come in and ball out, and they did. I mean, they Duke had a amazing second half to take the lead to come back. Or no, they came back and tied it. Malik had that amazing keeper at the goal line to tie it up. And then last few seconds of the game, Duke has the ball. Little improv action from Jomo and Malik. I mean, just how fitting is it that Malik's last ever play as a Blue Devil was like a beautiful deep pass to Jordan Moore for a touchdown to win the game? I mean, that's poetry.
Yep. I will
Ah,
looking back at the overall season, first season of scumbag tailgates and getting to meet people, spread the word. It was just a real good vibe, a vibe that was enjoyable, felt more like a college football group in a college football town. Finally started feeling like some atmospheres we'd all been able to go to in other schools and environments that are really enjoyable. Just making tailgates more inclusive, more fun. Just having more of a party sense. Shout out to guys like Garrett, Jarrett. The boys, Matt. Shout out Matt. They're Garrett and Jarrett's dads for partying with us. I mean, we had
legends.
great group of folks, and all the people we just sit and shoot the shit with at all the tailgates. Section 17 guys, all those folks, hard hats. It was another great year, and I'm sure 2025 will be the same. You can catch us at Jack Combs this year, absolutely jacking off at the Jack. Boys, looking forward to that. But the Duke football 2024 season was definitely one to write home about.
Oh, for sure.
And we got some predictions here, but to break it up from Duke a little bit, and we'll definitely
Mm.
circle back.
Real
Uh,
quick, before we get into that, I wanted to read a message that I got and then I shared with you guys. Like you were talking about just kind of trying to help just do our part to up the culture for the players and other fans who are like us, who want to be more of a quote unquote real football culture. We met some awesome people along the way, parents, other fans, former players that we became friends with along the way. I wanted to read you guys a message, like a really great message that I got from actually a former player who we befriended throughout the season. Not going to name names, but he messaged us after one of the home games this season. Great to finally meet you tonight, brother. And by the way, I did want to tell you for a program that's still as competitively adolescent as Duke's football team is, the stuff you guys do in helping to create the atmosphere of a major college football program by helping to drive fan engagement through different platforms really does make a tangible difference. In case nobody's actually said it to you guys, thank you for what you guys do for Duke football. And that's just what it's all about. I mean, that just meant the world to us when we got that message. Um, yeah, we're sincerely humbled by the support from you guys and the engagement, the interactions, and we love all the fans and the friends that we made along the way. Now, did you want to do mailbag real quick, or did you want to get into the college football landscape as a whole?
I'll break into this, and then we'll circle back to Duke just to give a little break from the Blue Devil stuff. But there's also this wraps back into some Blue Devil stuff, aka some dick sucking that had been going on Twitter and online about things that never needed to be gassed up so much. But preseason we recorded two kind of prediction episodes. One was all Duke, one was all college football, uh, playoffs, things like that. Really weren't far off. Kind of interesting stuff here. But Tyler and myself both got UGA and Texas picked correctly out of that. Oregon and Ohio State, another two playoff teams, like were in there. Also, that's kind of good. 4 for 4 to start. And then Clemson, I think that was a no brainer. Both of us got that. That was 5 of 5. It started falling apart here. Don't worry, it never stays hot with the GA scumbags. But we picked Utah, and I picked App State. Of course, both of those flopped. But Tyler did pick Boise State to be the Group of Five champion this year, which I think that's probably the coolest pick out of all these. So shout out to Tyler for picking Boise. At larges, both of us had picked Notre Dame and Penn State. I picked Kansas State, and he picked Ole Miss. So a couple in there went 9 for 12 overall. So not bad in the first year of picking the teams who made it. Then it really gets bad with picking the champion and stuff. Champions were picked Texas and Georgia. Of course, neither of those made it. But for just picking, and as bad as our bets were all year, it seems funny that if we would have just rode with those, we'd have probably made a lot of money. ACC Coach of the Year pick was Bill O'Brien and Jeff Brom. Neither of those guys won that. Rhett Lashley from SMU deservingly won that award. And ACC Player of the Year, though, both of us picked Cam Ward. Shout out Cam Ward. He kind of saved the ACC when it came to viral media and stuff like that this year. Very impressive. Heisman picks were Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck. Those were dog shit. Shout out Travis Hunter and that whole group. But yeah, those were pretty good. Definitely better than our group Duke predictions. It seems like we may know a little bit more about the national landscape than we do the Duke landscape, but we're about to be diving back into that. But with that said, just want to put this out there: the GA scumbags do not hate transfers. They do not hate the transfer portal. We appreciate what every player that steps foot at Duke does at Duke. That being said, take a line from Eli here that really has resonated with me as the best way to describe why we say and stand on the stuff we do. I do not hate my ex-girlfriend. I am not going to go cheer on my ex-girlfriend on her future endeavors in life like it's a reward for me. I'm not going to hang a jersey up in the rafters because she married a doctor. You know what I mean? I'm not going to write home about that. I'm not gonna go to the movies to watch her new film that she's starring in with a big time actor. Good for her, but it's not me. It's not my reward. It's not my piece of pie anymore. Riley Leonard having a good year at Notre Dame. All for it. Good for him for doing it. But the constant need to act like that was good for Duke and a way for Duke to recruit better. And like him being in the national championship. I mean, there were literally people saying him being in the Natty was like Duke being in the Natty. And that's fucking sickening. And I'm going to get off my soapbox with that, but I just felt like that needed to be aired out. There's been a lot of tension on that online, and I don't care to be the one that says it. That's my stance on it, and I'll stand firm on that. We're going to do the exact same thing with Malik. We're super, appreciative of what he did for a year here. His way of leaving is definitely different than Riley's way of leaving. And we respect Malik for his decision and are proud of him. But I don't want him to go win the Natty next year. I want Duke to go win the Natty.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go hang the jersey in the rafters if Malik somehow goes and wins the Natty next year. It's like a great I saw a good take online about this, and it really summed it up well from one of the Duke accounts. They said something along the lines of like, I'm not gonna go and on my ex-girlfriend's wedding day with her new husband, I'm not gonna go and post pictures of us back from when we were together and act like this does something for me or this makes me look a certain way. I'm not gonna do any of that. Like we'll support Malik, we'll love Malik, we'll support former like Duke players in our own way, but I think that going and acting like them and their accolades at a new school have anything to do with us. Um, but yeah, now that that's out of the way, it's not going to be a season recap episode if we don't go back and revisit our preseason predictions and see how they ended up weighing out. Actually, no. Before we get into that, I want to do the mailbag really quick.
Yeah, shine a little light on the negative that's getting ready to come up after the mailbag for sure.
Yes. So looking at the mailbag from the account, we posted a mailbag a few weeks ago just because we didn't know when we were gonna end up doing this episode. But our buddy Bentley Weeks, legend, friend of the pod, drippiest little boy in all of Wallace Wade.
Dude,
Uh,
the coolest outfits week in, week out. Like he deserves one of those like NBA walk-in pictures, but the Duke media needs to post him each week.
Agreed. Of him walking through Bostock Gate every week.
Oh my
Um,
god.
need it. We'll do that ourselves on the scumbag account next year.
For real.
Um,
Yeah, we just felt more motion.
yeah, our buddy Bentley, I mean, he literally has, it's insane. I posted a thing on my Twitter a few days ago about like, is Fred Goldsmith the drippiest Duke head coach ever? And the answer is yes. But
Mm.
Bentley owns an exact replica jacket, like a starter jacket from the 90s that Fred Goldsmith used to wear. It's incredible. Anyway, getting back on track. Bentley Weeks asks, favorite memory from Wally Wade this season? Noah, I'll let you go first.
Uh God. Either drinking that Finnish whiskey with those Finnish special ops soldiers that
Oh,
were
that was
trained
awesome.
as American soldiers at Bragg at a tailgate. That would be my favorite social event. My favorite actual like game event would definitely be third down shoe against SMU. Uh, for sure. Just hate that didn't work out in our favor, but fuck, that was so much fun.
I mean, that video and the other video of you shitting on like the SMU fans at their tailgate on the way into the game. Like if Duke had won that game, we would have been on Barstool. That would have been emotion.
Oh yeah.
Um, oh well. I think for me, my favorite memory of Wallace Wade this past season, I mean, it's hard to pick one, but just like overall in a general sense, like the tailgates were a blast. Getting to hang out with the friends that we made throughout the offseason, getting to hang out with Noah and Tyler and Garrett and Jarrett and the Section 17 guys and the parents like Daryl Hazley, those were always a blast. No
Fuck
tailgate this year
Daryl,
sucked.
man.
He's the
Fuck
man.
that
He's the
Daryl.
man. Getting to talk, hang out with John Fina, Trey Freeman's parents. I mean, just a bunch of great people. Those were always so much fun.
Trey Freeman's parents, a lot cooler than Aeneas Peoples' parents, if you know.
Yeah, for sure. Favorite memory from like the stadium during a game though? I mean, it's storming the field after the Carolina win was elite. Um, but the third down shoe comes to mind. Uh, Beefing with that Virginia Tech family comes to mind. Yeah, I mean, there's a few. It's hard to pick just one. Uh, our friend the Duke of QP asks biggest high and biggest low from this season. I'll start with this one. I'll tell you what the biggest low was. Losing to SMU. They tried to hand us at that football game, and we already talked about this. This is a playoff team that literally tried to hand us a game. Defense forces 6 turnovers, not a single point scored off any of those. Malik has a good game. Defense has an elite game, but the rest of the offense, like the play calling on offense and special teams, absolutely shit the bed. So terrible. I mean, that's a game that I still think about. I mean, after that game, and I'm not even joking when I say this. I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. This is fact. That drive home after the SMU game was one of those games where like windows down, no music, no texting, no nothing, just a straight shot down I-40, just silent, just thinking. It was awful. Now, my high point of the season. I mean, if I had to choose, I mean, probably the insane comeback against Carolina. I mean, it's hard to not have that as a high point of the season and getting the victory belt back, putting Mac Brown into retirement. Manny Diaz getting his against Mac Brown, if you know the history. I think that and the state game were my two favorite games this past season.
Yeah, it's the low for me is SMU. I ran my mouth so much. I mean, I almost fought the marching band at the tailgate. I I dang near was like about to jump the gate at the alumni tailgate, chanting like Dallas Tech and telling them, you know, their cocaine was dirty and just the all the time right at them. But that was just so low. And what made it lower, and we've joked about this quite a bit, and it's just hilarious. In North Carolina, the only place it was raining was the corridor of Durham to Charlotte. And my entire drive home was Sydney asleep because she didn't feel good. And that game was late when it ended, man. That game was so late. I didn't get home till like 3:30 in the morning. City dead asleep, just driving, piss pouring rain, no music, just the saddest thing in the world. And the high, but like you said, getting the victory bell back and it's beating NC State for sure is always a good high. Just to get the Twitter fix.
Yeah, the Twitter beef alone was enough to justify like the NC State game meaning that much more to us. Um, our buddy Timothy Gonzalez, legend, goat, frequenter of the Native Grill. He asks, and kind of a similar question to both of the previous questions, but we're never gonna not read Tim's question. Tim asks, "What was y'all most memorable game last season?" Just picking one game, home or away. What do you think, Noah?
SMU tailgate, just vibes. Just it was the best time till it wasn't. So I'm just gonna go with SMU.
Couldn't agree more. I think, yeah, if I think back to one game where I had the most fun last season, like from 11 a.m. at the start of the tailgate to, you know, up until like the last few plays of the game, SMU by far. I mean, just tailgate vibes were all time high, beautiful fall day, hanging out with the parents, hanging out with former players, hanging out with alums, uh, just like the antics during the game, before the game, just I feel like I'm forgetting something from that game, but like, I mean, again, seeing, Cutcliffe back at Wallace Wade for the first time. Steve, Steve Spurrier back. Fred Goldsmith coming back for the first time since I don't know when.
Fred Goldsmith came back from the dead, pretty
Yeah,
much.
Fred.
He came
Here's the thing
back.
about Fred Goldsmith, though. I was gifted a field pass for that game, and I got to talk to Fred. He's older these days. He'll do the thing where older guys do, where they ramble. But I was wearing a shirt that commemorated like the 1994 like Army game on ESPN or something. He sees my shirt and he goes, 94 Army. And he just dissects the whole thing. His memory is still there. He's like, this was our backup quarterback. He had a cold that day. This guy was like all this stuff. It was insane how good his memory is. But yeah, the SMU game was just so special until it wasn't.
So special
Um,
was it? And that's the definition of Duke football. It's just so special till it ain't.
Amen. And in a sense, that's what makes it special.
Yep.
Fuck, I miss Wallace Wade so bad right now.
God, I'm just ready to be at the Jack next. I mean, actually, like we're gonna be there in 12 days.
I
Like
can't wait.
the boys are gonna be back in business in 12 days. Let's fucking go.
You've heard of the camera crazies. You heard of the Wade wackos. Get ready to learn the jack offs.
We're like, setting
Oh
an
man,
industry standard of how to be Duke fans.
that's right. Supporting all sports. Um, Last question here from our buddy Jamie Holt from Section 17. He goes, "What's the over under on people looking disgusted and leaving their seat next year because of Noah Lunsford?" I
At
mean,
least 27
at
total.
least
Six
27.
six home games. You think families are usually coming in threes. That's 18. Then you add in the straggler, other two or three people around them. Easy 27 and a half. I'd slam me over.
Easy. And here's the screenshot I got. So I got a video of Noah. So if you don't know what the third down shoe is, if you're new to the pod, against the SMU team, Noah at one point takes his shoe off and starts slamming it on the
Roll the
bleachers.
clip.
Yeah, during the actually yeah, I will roll the clip.
Yeah,
Noah
you
filibuster
can.
for me for a second.
Oh yeah. So, anyways, this is SMU game. Drunk. I'm drunk as fuck in this. My poor sweet girlfriend, who is Northeastern, no college football lore in her, and
God
her
bless her.
6 years of college. Love her to death. Nicest person ever, but not a football, like not from the South. Doesn't understand it. And oh, she put up with a lot this year. But the SMU game was like the one where I knew I was like, man, she gets through this. Like, kind of sticking around for a while. And the video Eli's about to show you, that this was like the make or break point of just of the entire night, and all the people around us being so upset. And then a
Yeah.
guy on Twitter commented and said, "That's embarrassing." Like, what a fucking loser.
What did he say? He was like, "Well, that's annoying."
Yeah, fuck.
Um, Yeah, it was like a third down, like as like Duke is or SMU is in Duke territory, like in the red zone. And I was like, fuck it. Like we're gonna make the most of this. Takes the shoe off. Or as you said about Todd Polino against Wake last year, like fuck it, we're gonna do this. Um he takes the shoe off and starts beating the shit out of the bleacher. And I'll hold it up to the camera. Hopefully you guys can hear it okay. Oh, also what the funny thing about this clip is you can hear me yelling like a drunk idiot. Yeah.
It's the best two man ever. Just absolutely elite stuff there. But yeah, third down shoe vibes are just the word. They were unreal.
Unreal.
Moment of the century.
I zoomed in and I got the screenshot of these three dudes' faces. And we'll post this. You see this guy right here. He's like, what is he doing? This guy moved away shortly after that. This guy and his dad are all just like,
There, that's what's wrong with Wallace Wade in a nutshell.
I
In
mean, that
the
was three guys on one play who moved
in
away
the
after us.
SEC, that's considered normal. I'm JV. You know, I'm a JV kind of fan in the SEC. They've got guys out there doing way worse than me.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about Duke football, dude. You do like one like average ass like fan thing, like getting drunk at a tailgate or yelling on third down or beating a shoe on the bleachers in GA. And Duke fans are like, "Oh my God," like clutching their pearls, but like by that's a normal thing. But like we're in charge of building the culture here at Duke football. Like we gotta get us into the 21st century,
It's changing. It's changing forever.
building it brick by
This
brick.
movement will never stop.
So anyhow, real quick, we'll end the episode getting into like what our preseason predictions were and then what they ended up actually being. So, um, let's see. Obviously, we predicted that Malik would be the leading passer. Obviously, he was. Um, so we predicted preseason that Malik would end up with 2,500 passing yards, 26 TDs, and 8 interceptions. He ended up with 2,933 passing yards. So 400 over, we'll take that. Uh, 12 interceptions, a little bit high, but whatever. Here's where it gets interesting. We took our three predictions, I believe. It was my predictions, Noah's, and Tyler's. And we predicted how many TDs he would throw. And then we got like the average of those three put together, and we predicted 26 touchdowns. He ended up with 26 passing touchdowns on the season. So, hey, not, that was pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, 100%, because that's also like the only one we've even remotely got close to nailing. So shout out
Yeah.
Malik. He carried a lot of the weight of the rest of this because it goes downhill fast. And we're just going to go downhill with the running back position. Um, we predicted our leading rusher would break through the 1,000-yard mark and get to 1,100 yards, and 15 rushing touchdowns.
Hmm.
And we predicted it was Jaquez Moore. Eli, if you'd like to read out the actual leader and stats for us, as we have to brace up for how bad it is.
Yeah, we predicted that Jaquez would end up with over 1,000 rushing yards, and what? How many TDs was it?
15.
Not even close. It was well. Now you can't completely fault us here because Jaquez went down like week 2 against Northwestern, and then didn't play all season until like the last game or two. So in his absence, Star Thomas and Peyton Jones stepped up big time, but Star Thomas ended the season as our leading rusher by far, with 941 yards. No, 871 total. Averaging 4.1 yards a carry with 7 TDs, averaging 72.58 yards per game. Now, that's not all on Star Thomas, because I will say, and anyone who watched Duke football this season knows that we were in a weird predicament, or like a weird situation where our pass blocking was fantastic, but our run blocking was atrocious. Now, I think that's attributed to a couple things. One, just bad pass or run, just bad run blocking, but also when your offensive coordinator is calling inside zone every single play, it gets a little predictable what's going to happen next. So you can only attribute the lackluster running game, on the running back so much.
Known Al Qaeda, Jonathan Brewer.
Yeah, known terrorist Jonathan Brewer.
ISIS.
Uh,
We know who the leader of ISIS tweet thing is, but it's just a picture of Jonathan Brewer.
Fantastic,
That's that
fantastic.
was, that was one of my best bangers of this season on Twitter. That tweet got some motion.
So getting on to receiving, we
Embarrassing.
yeah, not amazing, but we predicted our top three receivers would be Jordan Moore, understandable, Javon Harvey, and Eli Pankel. Yeah, so Javon Harvey actually ended up being our seventh high. No, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Yeah, Javon Harvey was our seventh leading receiver, and I don't know if we even carry 7 receivers on our starting roster.
Jontavis
So,
Roberts probably at the head of him.
yeah, pretty much, he's right there. Our three leading receivers actually ended up being Jordan Moore, obviously, Eli Pankel, and Quayshawn Brown.
Yeah,
And
it's a dog.
yeah, Queso, we're gonna be in good hands with Queso, Angelo Anthony, Cooper Bar, Kate something.
Yeah, what
Uh,
the fuck do you know about Bo Lilly the third though, bro?
yeah. Um,
Bo Lilly made one of the social media videos today, so shout out Bo Lilly. Maybe this is the
shit.
out here
Breakout season.
breakout
Yeah.
season for Bo Lilly.
Jordan ended up with 861 receiving yards. Eli Pankel was 798, and Quayshawn Brown was in third place with 445. Jordan Moore had 8 receiving TDs, with a long of 58. Eli, oh my God, Eli Pankel. I mean, what a comeback season. I mean, it was fantastic. He ended up with 9 receiving touchdowns with a long of 86. I believe that 86 yarder was like the first play from scrimmage against Virginia Tech, right?
Yes, it was that long deep bomb to the like very end of the like hash mark over there. That was a baller.
What a play.
Yeah.
But yeah, our three receiving leaders ended up being Moore, Pangle, and Quayshawn Brown. It's a funny thing about Quayshawn, he's a small dude, but he clutched up at certain points last season, and I think we'll see a lot more production out of him this season. Let's see. We predicted Javon Harvey would, let's see, Harvey yards, 1,000. Yeah, not quite. We predicted Jeremiah Hazley would have 8 receiving touchdowns. Again, similar thing to Jacquez Moore. Can't really fault us. He went down week 2 for the rest of the season, so there's no way he was getting 8. Um, let's see. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and we were super wrong. Tackles. You want to get into this one, Noah?
Oh yeah, this one's bad. This one's 111 tackles for Trey Freeman. And mind you, Trey Freeman had a pretty baller year the year before. Brother, what happened? I mean, did we quit drinking our milk? Did we quit eating our Wheaties? I didn't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah, we predicted Trey Freeman would end up with 100 plus tackles on the season. Trey actually ended up with 67 total tackles on the season. Now, he clutched up when he had to. Like when push came to shove, when the game was on the line, nobody stepped up bigger than Trey Freeman did.
Yeah, he was
He,
the only guy that would step up, it seemed, at the end of games.
yeah, Trey Freeman clutched up. I mean, he ended the Carolina game in a resounding way with that interception to seal it. Um, I mean, who expected this? I think we thought he might have a big season, but we didn't know for sure. Ozzie Nicholas and Alex Howard ended up with the most touch or tackles on the defense. Ozzie had 100 total tackles, 40 solo. And then Alex Howard had 89 tackles with 42 solo. Couple of dogs. I mean, what can you say? Just two transfers who came in and just balled their ass off. Um, and Ozzie Nicholas, we've said it before. Ozzie's gonna be one of those dudes he just looks like a linebacker. He's
He's
gonna be
Brian
one of those. Go
Urlacher
ahead.
for sure. He's like a Brian Urlacher build, man. Just nasty motherfucker.
All the arm braces, the speed. He had a couple picks. Actually, he had one pick, but still, just clutched up. Ozzie easily going to be one of my favorite Duke players forever in that one season. Cam Bergeron ended up with 83 total tackles. Terry Moore doing Terry Moore things, 71 total tackles. If you haven't heard, I believe Terry Moore got like a long injury, right? Like he's not going to play next season.
From what I've inquired, it seems like it's a hip injury, or also like from or possible like knee and hip. So yeah, we're looking at a 12-monther for sure.
Just a
Uh,
shame.
there's a lot of noise that he's not going to be on the field this coming year. Hopefully, we're wrong. Hopefully, maybe it's not as bad, and some off-season rehabbing will help. But I'm not going to get my hopes up too much.
Yeah, for sure. We wish him well. Hope he, speedy recovery for sure. We predicted that let's see, VJ Anthony would lead the team in sacks with 8 total. Uh let's see, VJ actually got where'd he end up?
I feel like that one's got to be close.
VJ ended up with 5 sacks.
Hey, that's
Our actual sack leader, honestly, maybe a little bit of a surprise dark horse that we weren't expecting was Wesley Williams. Wesley
big.
Williams ended up with 7.5 sacks
He's
for
a ball.
46 lost yards. He was a baller last season. Um, Interception leader Deshaun Stone, we predicted 4. Deshaun did ball out. Don't get us wrong.
Just not in that way.
Yeah, he balled out. He clutched up. He stood up when he had to stand up. Deshaun Stone ended the season with 1 pick. I'll tell you who did get 4 picks though was Terry Moore. Again, Terry Moore doing Terry Moore things.
Yeah.
He was fantastic this season. Trey, our second place interception leader, ended up with 2, and that was actually Trey. I know the first one was against Carolina. I believe the other one, I want to say it was SMU. I'm not entirely sure though.
Yeah, he had the second to last turnover we got against SMU. The one before the Aussie Nicholas fumble recovery was that Trey Freeman pick on KJ Jennings.
Yeah.
Call
And
me
then
Kyle
so
Shanahan, the way I remember that play.
wait, say it again.
I said, call me like Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, the way I remember that play.
That's
Exactly
right.
the spec.
And then so we were way off in these predictions. We predicted that the MVP would end up being Jacquez Moore. Oof. Again, not entirely our fault. He didn't play all season, so there's no way he could have been. And then Noah, I'll let you take who we thought the defensive player of the year would have been.
Yeah, for DPOY, we had. I hate that closes out on me. Trey Freeman. I would not say Trey Freeman is who earned that award in my eyes. I would probably chalk that up to Chandler Rivers. Pretty easy, in my opinion, to say he was probably the most impactful defensive player.
Hmm.
And then this one is super embarrassing. Highlight reel player of the year, like a guy. He's a gamer, gonna make crazy plays. Chase Tyler.
One reception, 1 yard.
It was like a
Uh,
pass he got lit up on.
oh my
Again,
God.
like mid Tennessee State.
That was just bad.
Next one's pretty good,
CTE, Nick Morris. Again, another case of you can't fault us because he went down week 1 and just didn't see the field again all season.
but he was so CTE for Duke though.
He will be this season. I can feel it. Yeah, I from my understanding, according to sources who were close to the program, what happened was the plan was for Nick to come back from his injury because it wasn't like a season-ending injury, but they said that Nick Morris balled out so much in practice. No, not Nick Morris. Ozzie Nicholas balled out so hard in practice that they're like, well, okay, well, we're just gonna make Ozzie the starter and we'll keep Nick on the bench and give him his red shirt back so he can just come back next year. Um, and honestly, I can't say that was a bad decision because Ozzie like had the most tackles on the team and didn't play like the first week. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a crying shame we didn't find a guy like Ozzy when he was a freshman.
I know
Just blows because man, he was good. He was just fun to watch.
he was. We'll miss him a lot. He's a friend of ours too.
Then we got GA Scumbag of the Year. This one and like he's a great guy, and like his mom and his dad and his grandpa are just the coolest people. And he's a good player. But man, oh man, does that one game shine so bright in my eyes. We said the scum of the year was going to be Todd Polino. you know, love you, Todd. And Todd, you're damn good at what you do. Maybe we're setting an unrealistic expectation, but Ross Martin spoiled us, man. And that one hurt. The SMU game hurt.
It hurt real bad. Todd ended the season 15 of 20 for a 75% uh completion rating on kicks or on
Yeah,
field goals.
there's probably like 50 schools that would absolutely love that. You know what I mean? Like we're
Yeah.
just selfish.
He ended up, I mean, between field goals from 20 to 29 yards, he was 100%. Kind of gets sticky and 30 to 39 yard field goals. He's 2 for 4, 40 to 49 yards. He's 7 for 10. But man, he clutches up when it's over 50 yards. He's 2 for 2 on the season.
And they were all in daylight for sure.
Yeah. I think one of them was against State. I'm not sure where the other one came from.
Daylight Todd Polino is an absolute killer.
Yeah. And he had one blocked field goal on the season, and that would have won it against SMU. Fuck, fuck, fuck.
I think we got this next one right, to be honest.
Breakout player,
Yeah,
Deshaun
breakout.
Stone.
I feel like, and that kind of redeems for the Chase Tyler mishap because we were picking two young guys for both those awards, like guys that could come in and make a splash. Deshaun Stone, he did his stuff this year, and
I or go ahead.
I feel like knowing that he's just like a true sophomore, like man, that's a lot of good football left to watch him play. So I'm excited for that.
I agree. He ended up eighth on the total tackles list for the season. He played all 13 games. He had 28 solo tackles, 28 or 27 assists for 55 total. He had one pick, one pass breakup, one QB hit, and get this, he had two forced fumbles, which is tied for the most on the team. He's up
Hey,
there with Ozzie Nicholas, Cam Bergeron, and Terry Moore, and Chandler Rivers. So
he
he's in good
reminded
company right there.
And he reminded me a lot of DeAndre Singleton the way he played this year. Like, man, he's just out there looking to hit somebody and hit somebody hard for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that about wraps it up. I don't
That,
really have anywhere else to go with this one. Do you, Noah?
Sydney just got home. It's time for me to get to my duties in the kitchen. Put on a little TV. Relax for the evening. But Scumbags season recap. We knocked it out. Next up, I guess, will be our conference breakdown pods and position group pods. We're going to do the same thing we did last year, where we'll highlight the Duke quarterbacks and like Duke secondary, and then break down like the Big 12 and the Mountain West in the same episode. So plenty of good content to be rolling out throughout the off season. We got a few big interviews lined up. One we're in the works of with getting dates coordinated, which if all works out and said after, because he is a great friend and apparently a listener of the pod. So we're looking forward to that. It'll be big time for all Duke football fans to get to hear that pod. So yeah,
Agreed. We'll have some stuff. I mean, it won't be as frequent, but we'll have some stuff coming your way this off season with like, former player interviews, predictions. But yeah, no, it's been a scumbags. It's been a great season. So great meeting so many of you, becoming friends. So many great memories made on a what honestly is a memorable season for sure. So, from Noah, Tyler, and I, thank you guys for a great season. Thanks for all the mailbags. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for following along. We'll have this up in the next few days, but we'll see y'all soon. Thanks for a great 2024 season.
Easter egg for Tim. You're our favorite.
Yeah, Tim, you're the GOAT. We love you.
This is your Easter egg.
All right. So long, Scumbag Nation.